Our guest for this hour is seated. The senator of Nandi County. Now help us.
With
I'm the senator of the Republic of Kenya, elected by the people of Nandi.
But now when we are saying it in short form.
No. Short form is not good. This form is good.
Let's go there.
Because
Ladies and gentlemen,
it is descriptive.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Kenyan senator.
I bring to you the senator of the Republic of Kenya, elected by the people of Nandi County, Samson, Kiprotich, Arap, Cherargei.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fine. It's a very rainy morning and the roads are very slippery. My apologies for arriving a bit late.
Thank you so much for doing that. But thank you for coming all the same.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here in the hot seat of the Situation Room.
I think it's been long, like a year or so, or months.
It has been many months. It's not been this year, that's for sure.
Okay. I've never been here this year.
Can you imagine?
Oh, no, that's very unfortunate.
It is very. But we are glad that you're here to make up for that, because there are a number of issues arising that we can look at.
Yes.
But let's welcome you quickly with today's proverb. CT will tell you where that's from, and then you can give us your interpretation of the same.
Yes, our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the Republic of Mozambique. When you visit the cemetery, you cannot weep for everyone.
Oh, does it mean that sometimes they say God for us all and everybody for himself or herself? Because if that is
that's a very interesting perspective.
You can't cry for everybody. So you can say God for us all and everybody for himself.
This is true. You can't cry for everybody.
Yes.
But perhaps you can cry for devolution.
Yes.
And these are some of the things that we are looking at.
Yes.
I want to read a little bit from an article that's published in Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard, this morning.
Yes.
And the headline is that Ruto, a threat to devolution, warned governors amid tiff on roads fund. The first line is of interest. Governors have accused President William Ruto of being a threat to devolution following his remarks that the national government is best positioned to manage the road maintenance levy fund. The governors wanted the president to allow county governments manage the levy funds, maintaining that the national government had failed to discharge its functions. The president Sunday in Narok pleaded with governors to allow him manage the funds, according to arguing that he would be more efficient and lead to improved infrastructure and enhanced connectivity across the country. This is one such example of many times where folks have said that devolution as a process is being throttled and not being allowed to operate as would have been envisioned by the Constitution. Senators, in their responsibility, then have a responsibility to oversight county governments in terms of how they spend money, as one of the duties, of course. Now, when we look at devolution and its opportunity to actually live out its role in the country, do you think it's doing so as we look at this as an example?
No, it's not all gloomy. First, I want to say the statement, because I seen the statement by Professor Nyong'o is very unfortunate, because he's personalizing issues of devolution. When you talk about he's accusing the president of being a threat, it is neither here nor there. We know the people who are a threat to devolution are members of National Assembly, because they have sabotaged the passage of the bill for almost 2 times, even yesterday. And the president does not vote in parliament. In fact, the president just gave his own opinion since there is a stalemate on road maintenance levy fund. But the position of the Senate has been very clear that road maintenance levy fund should be given to counties. So even if governors have a problem, and City, you are aware of this, and all of us here, is that there is the summit. There is the IBEC. So if the governors wanted to contest the position of the president, there is a better avenue of addressing through IBEC, where the deputy president chairs, or even the summit of the devolution where they can address. So I found it curious that the governor, my neighbor, Kisumu County is, we neighbor with City, is a stone throw away. He did very well. He could have argued without unnecessarily attacking the president or dragging the president into unnecessary drama.
You went a little bit further, didn't you, though, Senator? You went ahead and you said that...
that is where I'm going to.
Okay, and I want to ask
So,
that question.
in fact, if they accuse the biggest and the second threat to devolution is governors themselves.
After the members of parliament.
After the members of parliament. Because they have never accounted for through development and transparency to many billions and trillions that we send to counties.
Correct.
There are many examples that they have never done. And they have gone to bed with EACC. Even the allegations that they are also lining the pockets of some of the senior judicial officers to ensure the prosecution of some of these economic crime cases are stalled. So, in fact, before they speak, he should have looked himself at the mirror before accusing the president of being a threat to devolution. And that is why there are many examples. You saw the governor of in the financial year of 2023-2024, the governor of Trans Nzoia Natembe allocated 5.1 million to buying of coffins. My own governor allocated 42 million to doing car hire services and giving 13 million for legal services that is non-existent. So there are many problems that face devolution, as opposed to saying the president is a threat to devolution. Members of National Assembly, in fact, for the first time, I've agreed with Raila Odinga, former Prime Minister, when he says members of Parliament, under Article 93, it means the Senate and the National Assembly should only restrict themselves to the devolved function. And I want to discourage my brother Atienda Amolo, who is a very respectable legal scholar and one of the few people who drafted this constitution. I see him is proposing a bill that wants to mutilate the constitution of entrenching CDF, oversight funds. Those are necessary things. You either choose, if you want to manage those funds, just run for governor or run for president. Then you manage those funds. Why is he a senior scholar trying to mutilate the same constitution? Yet we should be protected. So you cannot have your cake and eat it. We cannot be doing oversight, then be the one implementing these programs. And therefore, that public participation bill that I saw in some of the national newspapers, including the Standard, Kenyans should reject in total because it is not being done in good faith. And therefore, the future of devolution, the only challenge, and I've agreed, and you remember the president said that we must unbundle all the functions to the counties as per the fourth schedule.
Yeah.
If we can ensure that all devolved functions are taken, but the only challenge is financing those devolved functions. And we have had this push and pack where John Badi, and you remember even members of National Assembly are unfair. You remember, Ndu, that when the issue of delay in disbursement of CDF last week, the members of parliament forced and frogmized the CS of Treasury, CS Badi.
In fact, they said they will lock him in parliament and he will not have a chance
address,
to leave. Yes.
But they didn't add to him that you must also send money to counties. So counties, by the last disbursement they had was in February. They are being owed almost 90 billion in terms of both disbursements that should go to counties.
Allow me to ask you this, Senator, because the question then is, in terms of oversight, Senate has a significant role to play here.
Yes.
We have seen the committee with yourself, Senator Sifuna, Senator Kajwang, Senator Okiam Tata, make Thangwa, make inquiry.
Yes.
Or ask questions about how this money is spent. But it seems to stop there. After the answers are given, what happens? When governors are brought to question about 4 million shillings for breakfast, or money that has gone towards we don't even know what, it seems to be a question. It stays in the headlines for a couple of days, but then we never really know what happens after that. CDF is a big thing here, and we're asking, how is this CDF actually spent? Who controls it?
Correct.
What happens after the question is asked? Senate makes recommendations, but are those recommendations actually picked up and followed over?
Correct. In fact, that's where I'm coming. Whenever I go into Nandi, for example, I've been there up to yesterday, and the question people will ask you, this money that you sent in Nairobi, where is it? What are you doing as a Senate? We are incapacitated to some level because many people imagine that senators should arrest and prosecute.
Yes.
Yet they don't know that is the work of DCI, EACC, and DPP. And you, at least Kenyans, can learn through this program that the father at Parliament, both National Assembly and the Senate. You see, yesterday, National Assembly formed a committee to investigate the issue of illegal organ harvesting in the country. The father will go is to recommend. And that is the design of our constitution. I can tell you, Ndu, and when you get time, you should see it is even in answer the recommendations, and my brother here, the recommendations that we normally make to EACC, to DCI, to DPP.
Give me one recommendation.
For example, in Nandi, let me use Nandi. In the year 2019-2020, we found that there was what we call ECD cement scandal. And there was a lot of the buying of cement under Governor Sang and many others. We recommended for investigation and prosecution. Up to today, EACC and DCI have done nothing about it. So the far we can go is recommend, and we normally table those reports. You remember we were pitting the deadline of March, as was ruled by the courts, that we ensure that we comply. If you look at all those reports of financial year 2023, 2024, 2021, 2020, all them, we normally make recommendations that we always direct EACC to do investigation and possible prosecution. We even go ahead and even tell NCIC whenever we notice that counties are becoming bastions of tribalism. We recommend even NCIC to investigate and possible prosecution. So I wish I'm not wishing, but I think it is the wisdom of designers of the Constitution. Unless Kenyans will go to the referendum and say today Parliament can arrest and prosecute people who violate the Constitution or misappropriate funds.
Sorry, and the same Senate, interestingly enough, just 2 weeks ago, has brought forward a bill which is asking that the powers of the Auditor General then be increased beyond giving it back to Parliament by saying that the office should now have powers to recommend on her own instead of throwing it. So the question is, you continue to recommend year on year, recommend. Why is there no push to then see that it goes beyond just recommendation? Because nothing is being done.
No. Under article, I don't know, according to recollection of my memory, I think it was the National Assembly who wanted to clip the powers of OAG, if my memory serves me right. But I believe in Article 229, where the powers of the Auditor General should never and must never be diluted. The only problem I have, because I've sat for almost 7 years in Public Accounts Committee in the Senate, and also I've been a Vice Chair of County Public Accounts, up to the other day when the broad base came in, is
we hear you. We got
so the only challenge under Article 229. The only problem I have with the Office of the Director General reports, you remember we contested Busia, is when they just do lawfulness and effectiveness of use of resources and maybe give us financial statements without giving us the projects. And that is why even as a committee, one of the recommendations, and Kenyans should thank us for this, is progressive, is we have recommended that they should give us the status of projects on the public, because we were asking them, when you appear before public accounts, either in National Assembly and the Senate, you tell us about the compliance, the lawfulness, the effectiveness, the financial statements, but at the end of their own report. And that is why we have had a discussion, and I'm happy Nancy Gatungu, as she has been very open in terms of engaging us as a committee and even as Parliament. We have agreed that whenever they go to do audit, they must audit projects. They must audit that kettle dip. They must audit that ECD. They must audit any project that is done by a county, so that when we come and discuss, by the way, whenever a project delays, we lose value for money.
True.
So if we say this project of constructing a cattle dip in my local village in Kapkiben, for example, should be done within 3 months, it should be. Because the moment you delay, the inflation will kick in terms of prices of materials you will use. You will have to go again to the budget and budget again afresh. So the danger is that I will be against any intention of clipping the powers of OAG, because there is a reason as to why the Constitution says OAG must audit all public funds, so that we have about. In fact, if you have noticed, National Assembly, and you it is good that we are doing PPS budget policy statements at the moment before the new budget of 2025-2026. They did not give enough resources to OAG. In fact, most of the OAG, when they have appeared as, they complain that they don't have enough resources to go and visit those projects and audits. So what they try to do is they normally die and do it at the county headquarters, get a few projects, just do sampling. Because National Assembly has deliberately denied OAG enough resources to do audit, and you and me know the reason. It is obvious. Because most of these state agencies and state departments and counties would not want an efficient OAG. They would want a wobbling OAG so that they cannot be held accountable in terms of the resources. And that is why even they are going for COB, control our budget again. Because we're having this challenge of voided payments, where you take your money to pay and do, but end up paying CT. And that is what we call voided payments. Because when I ask Madam Nyagango, why a county is making requisitions, CCM Finance goes, for example, says I want 100 million to pay CT. When the money comes out, they pay in due. So the COB is telling us, after they release, they make requisitions to the controller of to the CRF account at the central bank, they no longer have the view. But now people are blaming COB, yet we have never made a legislative intervention. In fact, I'm happy because Madam Margaret Nyagango has been very supportive to Senate to ensure that she has a view, so that when CCM Finance of Nairobi makes a requisition of maybe 500 million, the COB can say that money will go to Ndu. But now governors are very smart. They go and take and that's why we have pending bills of billions of shillings. I am told it's approaching 170, 180 billion to 200 billion. They go and borrow to clear this service, but end up, because this guy has given out 10%. In fact, I'm told Nairobi it goes up to 40%. So you can imagine they are killing our businesses.
Is that why people who have recently been engaged get paid before those?
Correct, in 2013, 2014, 2017,
Yes.
because they are willing to part with something.
Because those ones did their bit in greasing the wheels, and that money
in fact,
probably has been
devolution and governance is killing our local businesses in our counties. You find somebody takes an LPO, they go to a bank, they leave a title deed for their small farm of tea. The county government of Nandi delays in payment. The banks come and auction. I have seen many businessmen and women who are dying out of pressure because now that the governors and they will come and tell you, you either give us 10. In fact, it's no longer 10%.
It's not 10.
I think they have gone beyond God. Because God only requested for 10%.
Okay.
To them, they are doing up to 40%.
Dennis
So that is a threat that we are realizing in devolution. So I agree that the COB and OAG and even, and you know, our challenge to EACC, you remember they arrested Kimani Wamatangi the other day. They did abracadabra, the machismo, but they went and gave him tea and mandazis the whole time, and they released him with only 30,000 shillings.
As opposed to
30,000 shillings. And they said they arrested him with 12 million shillings. The money laundering bill that is in the National Assembly, it is not an offense to keep money in the house. So why are they charging him with?
Okay.
You know, these are some of the things we find weird in this country.
Dennis had a burning question as we get into it.
Yeah. Cherargei, as we talk about what has to do with the devolution and the release of functions to devolved units, there is an aspect of a government saying release them, but the government says I will not release them because of the financing mechanism that is involved.
Yes.
But then again, one would say the government is actually holding on to them because there are funds to finance them in the first place. So why not just release them? And when it comes to matters to do with the functions and the recommendations that the Parliament keeps on giving these recommendations, you say fine, Parliament can just give recommendations, but then again Parliament as well has room to move motions to equally just summon these bodies to Parliament to request why the recommendations have not been acted upon. So why not take that route and ensure that your recommendations are actually followed through?
Thank you. Dennis, I had gotten news to you only reading news. I didn't know, but I'm happy you are nowadays part of the one. Let me start from your question on the issue of implementation. In Senate, we don't have implementation committee, unlike the National Assembly. I think it was chaired by Kadhoni Wamushomba. Yes. I don't know who is the, you know, with the broad base and everything, the many committees have been changed, so it is hard to follow through. So when the issue used to be there, so we have an implementation committee in the national, but in the Senate we tried forming, and we were told we could not. There was a bit of we could not do it as a, but in any working parliament. And I've been a champion of implementation so that they can follow through this recommendation. They can call DCI, they can call EACC or DPP. And I agree with you. In fact, I was telling members of National Assembly, if you want to assist us in ensuring devolution works, you should ensure the allocation, the money that you give EACC, DCI, and DPP, you call them to account and tell them the status. Where is it? Even the judiciary, you can even invite the judiciary to sit down and ask them, among all these cases that corruption in counties, how do you? Because now it is very unfortunate that we have an anti-corruption court in this country, but we are not, and that division was being formed specifically to fast track the prosecution of corruption cases in this country. The way we have environmental and lands court, we expected the efficiency. In fact, by the way, the law is very clear that I think it says that such matter of economic crime must be dispensed with within 24 months. But in Kenya, you can see it takes as many years as possible. Your second question is the funding, equitable shareable revenue through conditional also. You know, counties, by the way, don't only get the equitable shareable revenue. It also gets equitable shareable revenue. It gets grants from World Bank. It gets also loans. And that is why Kara, where we passed a few weeks ago. And by the way, many people don't know, counties under the law have power to do their own taxation under own source revenue. For example, the revenue potential, according to CRA of Nairobi City County, is 63 billion. But you see Governor Sakaja shouting all over that he has collected 13 billion. Yet when you go to CRA, Commission of Revenue Allocation, chaired by Madam Wanyonyi, that the revenue potential is 63 billion. But they are collecting 13 billion and they celebrate about it. And they don't use, because that money belongs to them. So in fact, if counties, and by the way, governors are very crafty. In fact, they can finance their own budget without necessarily waiting for the national government. Yes. Because in my county, the revenue potential of Nandi, with the T that you know whenever you overfly, is around 600 million to 800 million. But they only get a paltry of 250 million, 150 million.
That is per year.
That's per year, under one financial year. You know, these accountants they don't say year, they say financial year. Yes. So Nandi should be collecting around 600 million under the CRA. You know, they have taken all the indicators. It is not the Senate, it is Commission of Revenue Allocation. They will tell you the revenue potential of Kisumu is around $1 billion plus. But you see Nyong'o collecting less than 500 million. If he had collected $1 billion, it is easy to finance the budgeting programs that are already there. So even governors have a role, because under own source revenue, where they collect their own OSR, they are not even meeting their revenue targets. Yet, whenever you leave Kiambu, let's assume you want to build your house in Awasi. You come and buy a building stones machine cut in Thika. You exit, you get to Nairobi, you pay cess. You enter Kiambu, you pay cess. You enter Nakuru, you pay cess. You enter Kericho, you pay cess. You enter Kisumu, where the final destination of project, you pay. That is the money that, and you pay all these cess, but you still hear governors saying we didn't meet target of own source revenue. Right. So the governors have a huge area of financing most of the budgeted programs that have been approved by the county assembly. For example, Nandi gets around 8 billion through equitable shareable revenue. Under conditional grants under Kara, they get 584 million. They are supposed to collect 500 million, but they collect paltry of 250 million. And you remember, we have so many multinational companies who pay land rates that should even, like Richo, Bomet, and many others. Nairobi, where 60%, you argue, should be. In fact, if the governor was collecting like 50 billion, for example, we would clap for him. But if you are just collecting 13 billion out of 63 billion, that's a missed target of around 50 billion. Or is it their amount? Yes. So there is a big challenge.
You know, there's another issue here when you talk about collection. What is reported as being collected, is it actually what is collected?
It is not.
Because, yes, they always talk of lifestyle audits for people who work within government and county governments. There's an enormous disparity between what it is that they earn and what it is they do. Because if you were to trace and ask the businesses that they do, that give them the additional income, you will not find it. Correct. What they have is static assets. They've bought land. Yes. It doesn't move. There's no value. It's just land. Yes. Okay. Now, whenever these conversations are had, and I'm in agreement here with the senator, it's a false conversation because they never talk about the potential revenue. They always talk about the shortfall of the revenue that they have always. And so there is that enhanced discussion of what they anticipate from the national government. And that is the focus of the discussion.
That is why they have succeeded in refocusing the minds, David, in refocusing the minds of Kenyans to always see that, by the way, governors will, even my governor normally says, Nairobi has not given us money. But they never tell counties there is money from grants from World Bank, there is conditional allocation, additional allocation, there is on source revenue. They will always say, national government has not given us money. And they have succeeded, by the way. And when you go to the village, people say, what wa Nairobi hawajaleta pesa. And then they craft, they use, I agree with you. You meet these guys who do revenue officers, even the ROR, receiver of revenue in counties, they have unexplained wealth. The most of them are wealthy and they are very close to the governor. Because sometimes, whenever they collect, they use a very simple craft. They issue 3 receipts with them serial number. So they collect in Kapsabet, Apaking, they collect in Mosoriat, and they collect in Kabiet. But it's one serial number. So the 2 will disappear, the 1 will only be accounted. So you have, if it is 150 shillings, 150, 300, and then 450, they are taking even more than the owner.
They take 2/3.
Yes, in Chinua Ajebe, there is the owner of the yam and the owner of the knife. Since they have the knife, they got more than what the ordinary Mwananchi will have.
So we're clearly seeing a situation here. Yes. It seems to be cyclical in nature in terms of,
correct,
rather than lack of, accountability and management.
And our accountability, and I want just to quickly, so that I don't forget, there is this issue of conflict of interest bill. I have seen the president has returned there. The memorandum, I have not yet the memorandum. The biggest, another letdown to the realizing devolution dream is accountability institutions. If, when you talk about lifestyle audit, how can you get somebody who earns less than 1 million shillings giving 20 million in an Arambe, in one single Arambe? And we don't know, you are not you are not Jeff Bezos. Or you are not Elon or Elon. Trump calls him Elon. Elon Musk. You are just elected the other day. We know your net worth. We know your salary in parliament or in county. Then all of a sudden you are giving out millions and millions of shillings. So the question should be the issue of lifestyle audit. We should take it seriously. And we should take it seriously because we are commercializing leadership. And that is why Kenyans will come and us and tell us, just let me conclude my thought kindly. Kenyans will come and say, these people are not working for us. But they forget during elections or during campaigns, they were busy taking handouts. Say that they didn't realize the guy who was running for that did not say anything. Because he just arrives, there are a few songs, they dance, then people tell him, we know you, we will vote for you, but give tuangalie kitu kidogo handouts. And we have created handouts politics and commercial. So before you know it, the guy enters into the office, he does nothing. You didn't realize when he was campaigning, he said nothing. Because you are busy taking handouts.
Well, I mean,
that is the danger of commercializing leadership.
This is okay, but we see the president doing the very same thing, for whom you also seem to have great praise for, to the extent that you've actually said that term limits should be extended. The president does go from religious institution to religious institution, weekend after weekend.
But
hang on.
Okay.
Giving out quite a lot of money. That we could also ask the same question that you posed to members of parliament, saying, where does this money actually come from? Is there a fund that allows the president to give 100 million shillings or 20 million shillings? Where does this money come from? And should it be allowed? In the same vein, you, none other than yourself, have said, you know what? Well, let's extend this term limit of 5 years and let's talk about constitutionalism here, where you say, let us increase this to 7. Explain.
No. I think that question has two limbs. One is about the generosity of the president.
Generosity when it's the president.
No. I want to explain. Or if you realize most of the pledges the president is making, especially school infrastructure, are normally through the Ministry of Infrastructure. That's why we will say, ndaongea na serikali tuangalie na Ministry of Education, we are going to give 20 million in support of this. Before niende ya makanisa, I'm just saying.
I'm sorry, Senator, but I have to stop you. He says very clearly, huyo atakupatia alafu mimi nitadouble. Munione next week nitakuandikia check ya 20 million.
I want to, it's three. One, he normally says about the education. Number 2 is personal contribution. Our president is a man of means.
He's very rich.
Yes.
Okay.
He's a man of means. He's somebody who has built his wealth over time. So it is, that my worry was you elect somebody in 1 year is giving out 20 or 10 million. But this is somebody who has been, he has built his wealth over almost 20 to 30 years.
And
so
it is of that wealth that he is making the contributions to these different institutions around the country?
Of course, because let me tell you, because one, you have to appreciate on some of these like classrooms, he normally says CDF will give and maybe he will add maybe 2 or 5 million. He goes to a church, he gives out. So in essence, and President has also friends. It is like you, if you today you invite me for an Arambe to Awasi, for example, and I have friends, I can go and get a friend, I'm going to a fundraiser.
So how do you know that the members of parliament who are making the 20 million shilling contribution are not doing that in the same vein with contributions from their friends?
Because we know their background.
Oh, come on.
Yes,
including their friends.
We know even their friends, we know who they are. And we know what they do.
So it is, in this case, the president does not have that kind of label.
You cannot put the president on the same level in terms of giving out with a member of parliament. Because I have tell you, the President William Ruto in 1997, he was not giving out 20 million. When he was the first time member of parliament. He has built this consistency. It is like asking former President Uhuru Kenyatta to give out 5 million. We know the fastness of the estate that he comes from. So all this, what we are saying is that you must account for it.
Yes.
And the president has already said he can account for it. He does business. He does his own businesses. He does farming. You have seen even in his own farm. In fact, he himself has said he can account for every single coin that he gives to the church.
But Cherargei, in the same
and by the way, in conclusion, do you know all these characters who are blaming the president for giving out too much to the church, they are drinking much more at night.
Cherargei.
They are drinking even up to 2 million per night.
Okay. Cherargei.
Yes. But because we don't see that, we will always blame somebody who gives out in the church or in religious institutions.
But Cherargei, how would you respond to the president?
I wanted to ask the issue of term limit. Okay, you can go ahead.
Yes,
okay.
And then you can come to term limits.
Okay.
Yes.
How would you respond as well to the president who's seen as the president of double speak? Today the president says, I have banned giving monies to the churches. But the next few months, he's seen doing the same thing that he himself stood at the podium and said no to. What precedents is he setting for others? Because then again, one would say, but the president is doing it. What's the problem with me doing what the president is doing?
Or including the issues of development. Generally promises. On the issue of term limit, by the way, we need to be fair to this country. Are you aware we have campaigned from 2022 up to now?
Because you've chosen to.
Yes, I'm aware, because you've chosen to.
No, I'm just asking because, Kenya, I don't know whether it is bad manners or is it what, because every time an election is over, people start campaigning for the next election, for the next seat. In fact, whenever I travel and you are in public functions, you are told the aspirants. Yet there is only 2 years, 3 years to an election. And then number two, by the way, let us be honest, Kenyan politics is tribal. The reason the president's seat becomes so competitive that people even want to kill each other for is because there is only up there is few seats. We must agree. Somebody said the source of law, I think somebody said when you need to transplant the law, when law is being brought, you needed to transplant and bring Kenyan way of doing things. We cannot run Kenya the way America is being run.
Okay.
That is why I was proposing, let us expand the executive. Let us create the office of Prime Minister, the 2 deputies, let us have 2 speakers, let us have the presidency. One, before I come to term limit, so that we can ensure
and spend
the
more money that you don't have to pay all of these people and to run all of those offices, Senator, to spend all that money, which Kenya already has a problem with, and then add a few more people here, add a second deputy president, add some prime ministers and their deputies.
No, it's only 2 deputies and 1 deputy president.
Fund their offices,
prime minister, yes.
And fund their offices to the tune of millions every year. Why?
Let me explain the rationale. I was coming to that. Kenyan politics is tribal. Every tribe wants to sit on the kekek where the cake is being cut. No one wants to sit outside. And that is why I'm saying if we have an expanded executive, for example, maybe the tensions. You remember even during the GNC's protest, during the one ODM protest, there is only simple reason. Everybody wants access to power. And that is why we are saying, and you remember even John Badis the other day said that we are losing 2 billion. Is it better to have a peaceful and stable and secure country or have a country like Sudan? You know, that is it. Democracy is expensive. If it was not expensive, then we should not practice. Then we should go for no, I don't want to use what Bernie Sanders says, the oligarch. This one where you have the king and the queen. Then we should just have a monarchy. Democracy is expensive, my sister. You must, if you think democracy is expensive, try alternative. And that is why I'm saying, let us be fair to ourselves. What is the problem? Everybody wants power. What do we do? It is everybody. In fact, you have seen now, people are now retreating to regional political parties and tribal parties. So why are they saying, sisi, what ya mrema, tutaunda chama, tuketi na wale wengine.
Okay, but so why give the president 7 years? Why?
Number two, on the issue of term limit, 7 is a holy number for us who are Christians. Number one. Number two, I have told you, we have subjected this country to continuous campaigning period. We rarely give somebody in office to do. By the way, let me give you an example. We are measuring William Ruto with the 10 years of Kibaki. You hear people saying, Kibaki alichenga Thika Road, but without saying, Kibaki legacy or the track record was 10 years. William Ruto has only been in office 2 to 3 years, but you want to use the track record of 10 years to judge somebody in class 2. It's timing, like giving somebody...
Senator, it's the timing of that statement that you made that may be unfortunate.
Which part of the statement?
The statement in itself, I actually support a 7-year presidency myself.
One single term.
I see the benefits. No. It doesn't have to be single. We decide.
Yes.
That's what we put to a referendum.
Yes.
When you talk of the extension of a presidency, our lived experience in this region is that's how people become life presidents. Mm-hmm. And in the back of people's minds, they're not hearing the 7 years. They're hearing
for life.
This person wants to be here forever. That's what they hear.
But why does it presume that by the way, you can pass the constitution amendment and postpone? But even the beneficiaries of 2010 constitution was not directly Kibaki. Yes, it can go beyond.
And Senator, you are actually right. If you look at your salaries, judges, who puts together what the government pays, okay?
Yes.
It is 7 to 8% of GDP. Okay?
Correct.
So it's not...
And we are losing 2 billion through corruption. Yes. You have had even President Uhuru said it. CS John Badi, and in fact, you need to call John Badi here. You are media, you normally cover.
He comes and he speaks. The point we're making is this.
Yes.
We blame you, Parliament, for the ills that we have. You do not hold the executive. You don't hold counties to account for the things they do. National Assembly does not hold the government, the executive.
Yes, the national executive.
And who has been campaigning for the last 2.5 years? Who has been? You talk about we spent 2.5 years campaigning, so we waste time.
Everybody.
And that's the reason why you need another 2 years to get the job done. But who's been campaigning?
Everybody.
No,
the minority. When I go to a funeral in Awasi, kuna mtu anaomba MCA 1 minute.
It's politicians.
Yes. So what
who are in the minority?
I wish we should do like Tanzania, where I have been to Tanzania on several occasions.
Which we're not Tanzania. So let's have a conversation of Kenya.
No, I'm just saying.
What would work for us?
You say best practices. In fact, when you go to Tanzania, I met the Secretary General of CCM, who is my good friend and is the presumptive Deputy President of Samia Suluhu Hassan, Ambassador Njimbi. And he was telling me, under their law, if you campaign outside 1 year or 6 months to the general election, you are arrested and prosecuted. But in Kenya, when you do that, the NGOs and the opposition will say, now you can see these people are stifling democracy. They are fighting. If I go today to my county and say, I don't want to see aspirants campaigning, I don't want to see anybody campaigning, the NGOs and everybody will say, you can see this person is a dictator.
The voice of the people.
Yes, Article 10. They will tell you Article 10 on rule of law and democracy.
Mheshimiwa, let me ask the question. why then do you think that the citizenry are up in arms when some of these
complaining?
Things are raised?
Yes.
Why do you think?
Perennial complaints.
Because
it is.
there is a background to the complaints. There is a background to the dissatisfaction.
Are you aware Kenyans love politics?
I am very aware that Kenyans eat, drink, sleep,
if I
politics.
say I buy maize today in Ahero, you are small center, they will say Mheshimiwa sema kitu. If today I come to a function and just
you really want us to go that route?
No, let's not.
No,
go
I'm
that
not.
route,
I'm
but
not.
let me
I'm
ask
just
you,
saying
because
Kenyans.
our time is actually coming, but I want to ask this question really quickly. What are you saying to Kenyans today who are complaining unfair, unmet promises, wasting a lot of time, looking at money going through the drain? Mm-hmm. You sit in a position of oversight.
Yes.
What are we saying to Kenyans?
In short, what we are saying, the economy is now stable.
Oh my goodness.
Number two is we are fighting ballooning public debt. And that debt did not occur 2 years ago. That debt has occurred from 1963 when President Senior Kenyatta was there. Every 100 shillings we collect, almost 80% to 90% goes to public debt. It will affect the service provision. Number three, every promise we made and the president has made under our manifesto of Kenya Kwanza, I can assure the country, our contract was 5 years. We shall deliver. By the end of 5 years, we will say we have delivered X, Y, Z. And that is why even as farmers, we have subsidized fertilizer. We have issue of share. By the way, as today, we collect 21 million Kenyans have registered. So all these promises, I want to assure Kenyans, every promise that the president has made before the public, either in public or through media, we shall fulfill. And as we talk today, President William Ruto does not have a competitor.
Okay.
What we have are participants.
All right. A quick
so
one.
the
Again,
re-election of President William Ruto is loading.
So is he on the campaign trail?
No,
is
he's
he
not.
campaigning?
He is visiting and inspecting and supervising government projects.
And how does
And whenever he finishes, he says hello to the people.
Okay.
Samson,
You cannot work, even, when I walk into this building, I cannot just work without waiting.
Our time is up.
Cherargei.
Our time is up.
Yes,
I mean, so you said every promise will be fulfilled.
Correct.
I'm looking forward to mothers getting diapers for 3 months, like he said was going to happen. And we'll hold you to that because you said every single promise will be met.
Yes.
It's 9:01.
Yes.
The senator in the Republic of Kenya
From Nandi County.
is Samson Kiprotich Arap Cherargei. He's been our guest this hour. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.